Another topic that I find is really up right now is how men and women perceive and treat each other. And so while, I'm all for, I've said in another video that, it's just, to me, it's really, it's really disrespectful on the body that you're given and you're born with, to try to change it into something that you could never truly change into. But on a deeper level, and this is another thing that I've learned from, I feel it intuitively, and I've also learned from Tantra teachers, is that there's such a breakdown in, men and women relating to each other in a way that is evolutionary and really uplifting for both. And from what I've learned, not an expert in this, I'm more of an intuitive person, more than I like to hold on to facts and things. But from what I've learned, a lot of this shifted around the 4th century. There was just a lot of, what's being called today is a toxic patriarchy. And men are just as affected as women. So I'm not saying, oh, like, women, let's all say that all men are toxic. That's just not the case. We need men and men need women. And what I found really interesting and just makes sense to me is that, it's our differences that actually should magnetize us. And when we are not in fear of one another, and when we are respectful of one another, that's where greatness can happen. And what I find so interesting is that, most people are familiar with the basic chakra system. There's lots more chakras than the 7, but most people who've taken some yoga are at least aware of this. But what I learned is that they're opposite with men and women. So like the root chakra is a positive polarity for a man and negative polarity for a woman. Does not mean superior or inferior. It just means that this is the great thing, because magnets need to have that positive negative to be able to come together. And then you go into the 2nd chakra, that's positive in a woman, negative in a man, and it goes onwards up until the 7th chakra, which is where it's a unity system. There's not a positive or a negative. It's actually a merging of consciousness. And so, in kind of simple terms, I do see, since my time here on Earth, it's pretty common that, women are minimized and dismissed by men. And, there was a reason for the feminist movement, for sure. But we are evolved now. And while that may have brought to the light that, that women are not to be dismissed or oppressed, it kind of turned into women competing with men. And that's no bueno either. Like, let's be women if you're a woman, and same, let's be a man if you're a man. And let's look at how can we really deeply respect our differences. And, one thing that, I do think is unfortunate is the whole miraculous gift that women have in them, the ability to, to grow another life, is it's a miracle. And I've heard men, maybe even women too, say, oh yeah, pop the baby out, get back to work. And that's just, it's like that surface way of seeing things. And it's just so unfortunate, because I did learn from an Ayurvedic practitioner that I mentored with for 9 months. She kind of wasn't in the program, but she did bring in, as kind of an extra bonus, this whole, we cannot ignore the miraculous. We cannot ignore the unseen. And that, there's this whole way that a woman needs to be protected and taken care of. And prior to creating a baby, during the pregnancy, and after the pregnancy. And the father has a big role in that. And it needs to be a supportive role. It needs to be a protective role. You know, when you really think about what a woman's body has gone through, like, you know, she can do it. We're made to do it. That's another, you know, soapbox I can get on. I can't stand how the medical community has made giving birth this like medical procedure. You know, it kind of robs the woman of the whole rite of passage of just, you know, birthing naturally. And then at the same time, I will always say, you know, I'm not a black and white person. And, you know, I have known friends who had every intention on a natural birth. And thank God that there was, you know, I think our emergency medical system is just awesome. And so they didn't need help. But to kind of groom a woman into thinking that, you know, she needs to go and prepare for a cesarean, or yeah, let's you know, get her all numbed up for the experience, is robbing both the mom and the baby and the family the experience. And having said that, I want to make really clear I'm pro-choice, and we are a country of many faiths, and you know, one faith does not trump another, and there are definitely ancient wisdom faiths that completely say it is up to a woman. We are all sovereign beings. So it is not, please get this out of all government. It is not a topic that governments should be in at all. It is a personal one. It's a spiritual one. In some cases, it's a religious one. But, you know, I am really clear on that. And also, you know, I just think that the strange thing to me that's never seemed, that I haven't seen come up with that whole ideology is, you know, such a heavy-handed weight on the woman that, you know, you do not have a choice in this. What about the man who impregnated her? You know, if it seems like in that narrative, if you're going to say that a woman does not have that right to choose, the man who impregnated her should be equally held accountable for supporting her and the newborn child. So, you know, I really think that there's we've got to get out of this kind of barbaric way of you know, interacting with men and women and inferior, superior. You know, I think we need to look at it as, you know, women, you know, it doesn't mean they can't have a fantastic career, but they're naturally nurturers. You know, I think in most cases, yeah, it's awesome that men can help with, you know, being involved in the child's life for sure. But I don't think you can replace the bondage with a mother. And another thing I learned through my daughter's education at Waldorf, which just, I saw this, is the first 7 years are like mommy years. They really need that connection. The next 7 years are daddy years. That's where that bond is needing, you know, the attention and strength. And then from 14 on, you know, you just hope they have good friends, because by then, you know, they dismiss in their development, they're very influenced by their friends. So coming back to this, we need to support each other in those roles. And so men, please do not dismiss how important the actual role of a woman with the baby is, and your role in helping with that whole infrastructure. You know, women are not just machines popping out babies. And you know, I think it's so much wonderful when we can bring babies in a natural way. I think this whole fertility crisis, you know, we have to look below the surface on all these things. Like, okay, it's great if we can, you know, have some science that for people who aren't able to get pregnant, but I think what is way more important is why aren't they able to get pregnant? Why are we outsourcing as women, you know, not understanding our bodies, that, you know, we have to do all these weird things for birth control when actually our bodies are, you know, not actually able to get pregnant any time of the month. And a lot of those interventions really mess up a lot of other things and can cause infertility later. And, you know, it's equally important that a man take responsibility for understanding a woman and her body, and get to know that her body responds differently than his, and that the real the real miracle is when there can be a mutual understanding, respect, and really exalting of our differences in a way that is beneficial for ourselves, our relationships, our kids. Thank you for listening.